During the prologue of Valkyria Chronicles, a narrator describes the story as one of courage and trust, persecution and hate. It's an apt summary, one that touches on many of the game's complex themes. With themes inspired by World War II, Valkyria Chronicles tackles subjects like the brutality of war, racism, and how conquerors can inaccurately shape the tone of history. All of it is handled with a surprising amount of grace, weaving a tale that's easy to get emotionally invested in, because the game actually has meaningful things to say.
Alright, let's get ready. Squad 7, move out!
The narrative is supported by a truly fantastic cast of core characters. Instead of the grim and gritty heroes usually present in war stories, the members of Squad 7 are optimistic in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, making them easy to like and root for. Yet perhaps the strongest part of Valkyria Chronicles is how it plays. Since it mixes third-person shooting with tactical role-playing, you feel more involved with the action instead of just serving as a faceless commander from behind the scenes. All of it comes together in a way that makes for one of the most absorbing strategy games of the last decade. Yet all of this was true when the game first hit the PlayStation 3 in 2008. The remastered edition, recently released on PlayStation 4, doesn't especially go out of its way with new bells and whistles. It looks sharper, includes all of the previously released DLC, and has trophy support, which the original version lacked. Even at its current budget price, it may be a hard sell for those who have already seen Squad 7 to victory, especially those who purchased the PC version in 2014.
Listen, we have a lot of work to do. Follow me, let's get started.
However, PS4 owners who have never given Valkyria Chronicles a shot have absolutely no excuse. The hybrid battle system feels just as clever today as it did 8 years ago, and the cel-shaded watercolor aesthetic is still one of the most attractive and distinct we've seen in a strategy game. Much like the Fire Emblem series, Valkyria Chronicles does an excellent job of fleshing out even the most minor units under your command. Although these recruitable soldiers aren't given nearly the same time and attention as the core cast, they nonetheless add a vital personal touch. It's possible you'll want to fill out your roster simply based on who you connect with, almost entirely ignoring their combat prowess. Having such endearing characters also makes it gut-wrenching if they fall in battle, and you're not able to recover them within the 3-turn limit, losing them for good. The real heart of Valkyria Chronicles, though, is made up of its two main characters, Welkin Gunther and Alicia Melchiot. Welkin is exceptionally reserved and compassionate. Instead of a gruff military veteran, Welkin is a bookish nature lover who prefers observing birds and sketching flowers to fighting in war. He always sees the best in others and never loses hope, making him a stirring and effective commander. Alicia, another key member of Squad 7, shares many of Welkin's qualities, although she's also unfailingly energetic, driven to help those in need as much as possible. Welkin and Alicia's morality is never insincere or forced. Enough time is given to see them grow as they work through difficult battles and learn how to deal with the diverse outlooks of the various Squad 7 members. Both characters feel remarkably natural in a game that features ancient lances that shoot blue beams of energy and an enormous battleship the size of a small island. The love that develops between Welkin and Alicia also feels quite natural. It's not overly sexual or melodramatic, instead propelled by a sort of innocence that's rarely seen in games. The only character that feels undercooked is Maximilian, the main antagonist. Little is revealed about him until the bulk of his backstory is crammed into a final dramatic speech. He's just a brooding device fulfilling a necessary role, rather than someone who enhances the narrative in any way. Even if you skip over every single cutscene and story segment, Valkyria Chronicles is still enjoyable. A large part of that is due to the map design and mission structure. Each of the 22 combat scenarios in the main campaign challenges players in different ways, requiring a thorough understanding of the available unit types, as well as the various gameplay systems. One mission asks players to derail a well-armored train, while another calls for the use of smoke grenades to sneak past giant enemy gun emplacements. Because of the diversity of missions, you can rarely rely on the same strategies unless you're a veteran player who's already keenly aware of how broken scouts can be. As a result, most skirmishes feel like puzzles instead of demonstrations of brute force. It also can't be overstated how valuable it is to directly control units instead of merely shuffling them around like chess pieces. Having to manually line up a headshot with a sniper rifle or throw a hand grenade into a bunker gives battles a tactile feel that they would otherwise lack. Our biggest criticism of combat, and really Valkyria Chronicles overall, is its ranking system. At the end of a mission, players receive a letter grade meant to represent the quality of their performance. The problem is that the ranking only consists of a single factor: how many turns it took to complete the mission. The speedier you are, the higher the rank will be. In a game that requires a lot of careful decision-making, the system feels one-dimensional and needlessly prohibitive. It particularly punishes newer players, since the amount of experience earned at the end of a mission is tied to whatever rank is achieved. Since beginners aren't likely to know the quickest, most efficient ways of completing a mission, they might feel compelled to spend time grinding it out in optional battles to beef up their troops. The soundtrack of Valkyria Chronicles deserves special mention. While not necessarily best in class, the blaring horns and swelling string arrangements manage to effectively capture both the intensity of the battlefield and the energy of Squad 7 as a whole. Although Valkyria Chronicles Remastered isn't the most fully featured re-release, it's nonetheless an excellent way of experiencing a classic. Valkyria Chronicles is every bit as good as it was last generation, and reminds us how desperately we want new entries in the series. If you haven't played through Squad 7's story yet, that's a mistake you should correct as soon as possible.